Thank you, Anya. I thank you for not stealing my thunder too much there. Brilliant. And thank you very much, Jorg, for joining us. I think actually following on from the last panel, or the panel that we had that Sonia hosted, I think it just shows that there's some extremely important insights, but insights from across industry and also from peers. Ronan said at the very start that this is not a sales exercise. This is about giving back and helping us all learn from industry experts, getting insights from experts, but also from peers. So understanding what's going on in other organizations and how we're approaching those challenges is critically important. So with that, I'll just really ask Jorg to introduce himself, but actually also introduce AerCap, because it is an organization that most people, until yesterday, has sort of ruined my first question, that hadn't heard of, but I'd say most people, if not everybody in the room, would have had a touch point with.
So, Richard, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be here and maybe share some insights about what I do and how we do things. Yes, AerCap. It's been on the news yesterday. Michal Martin, the Taoiseach, mentioned us at the Oval Office. Why did he do that? AerCap is an aircraft lessor. We lease aircraft, engines, and helicopters to the world. And so it is the simple fact is, we're the largest in the world. We buy more aircraft than anybody else in the world. We own more aircraft than anybody else in the world. And we do the same with engines as a standalone product and helicopters. Simple fact in life. I know there are colleagues of mine in the audience here, and they are clearly also very valid in terms of their business and their business model. AerCap has become this big because of acquisition. We acquired businesses, very large businesses, in 2014 and in 2021, and reached a size of about $70 billion worth of assets. And we have a global reach around the continent, 10 offices, and about 700 people working for us, 400 of those here in Ireland.
Well, that's brilliant. And actually, I mean, just some of those numbers, the size of the organisation, the size of the assets, and as you say, we've got yourself, AerCap, and we've got SMBC. So the two kind of the large, first and second in terms of size. So and it's a massive scale. I suppose securing, making sure that we secure those assets is critically important. Before we kind of jump onto that, because we were just sort of talking earlier, and it's that Oval Office meeting. I woke up this morning and it been sent to me by a colleague, because obviously we knew this was upcoming, and I looked at it on LinkedIn without the sound on, and actually I assumed it was a deep fake of the Zelensky meeting, and then I thought, I'll turn it on, and then I thought, I was going to sound it, and then read it, and obviously understood that actually no, it was very much real, but I had a slightly different experience with it.
I had a bit different experience, and it was a security experience. At 8 o'clock last night, my CEO sent me an email and say, why can't I open this file? And I thought, okay, what file is that? I didn't know about the Oval Office at the time. I tried to open myself. It obviously didn't work because it was an MP4 attachment to an email. Corporate communications, investor relations got all excited about this piece of news and wanted to send it out as quick as possible and forgot that we do have platforms for this. We upload files, we scan them first, then we upload them into a secure environment and share it over the intranet. That's how we usually operate. And because the people didn't adhere to the process, it wasn't visible to the CEO. Upset. But for the right reason. We filtered it out. It wasn't. It could have been a fake. It could have been a malicious file, just hijacked. And in the end, everybody's calmed down and said, well, it was the right thing to do. We saw it 5 minutes later. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and actually, I spoke about it, and then Dr. Fox Hamilton then spoke about it, and we spoke about it on the panel. That kind of speed and ease of use and convenience, suddenly just all of the security policy just suddenly goes out of the window.
Gone. So, yeah, absolutely.
Indeed. So, just sort of diving in, I think particularly, as we've got a CIO of a leading Irish company here, it'd be great, and it's something that I've heard a good few times about what the board thinks. I was
Yes.
at another conference when a CIO said, "Do you know, when a salesperson approaches me and said, oh, this is what the board's thinking," he kind of said, "Actually, I think it might be the CIO of United Airlines," so
Yeah.
similar industry. Turned, I said, "Do you know what? You don't know what the CIO, what the board thinks. You've never been near one."
Yeah.
So I think it's great as we've got somebody that's near. Particularly around security.
Yes.
What is the board's
Yeah.
view of it? Is it something that you're challenged on, asked on, and is there an interest?
Yes. So there's two types of boards. The executive board, those operational directors that lead the company on a daily business, and the non-executive board. Those non-executives flying in 4 times a year, mostly, in our case, mostly Americans, that oversee the governance of the organization. I've been asked to present to them 4 times a year, 3 times at the audit committee, a sub-board, and once to the main board, a yearly update on cybersecurity. It was a conscious choice by the chairman that this is of interest, and he wants to know, and therefore I need to come back and explain to them what is it we do during the year, what is our plan, what and how are we going to improve our security posture, what are the latest developments, and they like to discuss these things and take their time. AI is on the top of their mind, and so much so that 2 of those non-executives went to Red Brick University in the United States and got a certificate, cybersecurity for board members. They were very proud of it. Very proud.
Yeah, and I think it speaks volumes to how things
Yeah.
are changing. That actually they're seeing it,
is.
and
It's
actually, and enrolling themselves in
Yeah.
a Red Brick University course so they can get to grips with it
Yes.
to ask all
Yes,
the
yes,
important
yes.
questions. And so some of that, I know we talked in, and as it was public for SEC publication, a lot of this probably is driven from actually having a breach,
cyber incident,
a
yeah,
cyber
absolutely.
incident.
About 13 months ago, January last year, we were hacked. And I'm standing here and say, yes, it happened. It happened under my watch. The important thing here is what did we take out of this and what lessons did we learn? We were lucky in a way that our incident response supplier was there immediately. We had our environment locked down, and we regained access to the back door from Microsoft. It was basically our Azure environment was locked down. We were locked out. Complete change of passwords throughout the environment. What happened was that a perpetrator broke in. They tried lateral movements, a software that we use, and I think we can say what this is here, CrowdStrike, prevented them for lateral movement. They understood that they were discovered by CrowdStrike and that it would only take minutes to shut them down. So they basically reset all the passwords and left, never to be seen again. They tried to contact us because they stole about a terabyte of data, very old data. We never responded to that. They went away. The website was deleted, and we were back in 5 working days.
Yeah, and I suppose how much of that did it change the thinking, the business of how you kind of approached security? And actually, you're up here sort of being honest about the happened on your watch, but how's that kind of propagated down to people in the business?
In a business, although it is a global business, we only have 700 employees. Those 700 employees can be reached. And we made sure from the management committee up down into the company that everybody will be reached. We would do mandatory things in place, such as a 4-minute video per month for educational purposes. We are putting training sessions together. Whenever I travel to one of the larger sites, there is a must-attend cybersecurity session in that visit. It is prevalent everywhere. People know this is important. This was not the only attack. This was a successful attack. But we also most recently watched an attack, a man-in-the-middle attack on from our supply chain, where we were in touch with a workshop, basically. They maintain the engines and refurbish them. We were in touch with them about an invoice. And the man in the middle got in there. And we detected them through awareness, really. The important thing here is, first of all, the people on the ground have to detect this. If somebody changes just a letter in your domain name, and it's very difficult to detect. That's where it came from. The person detected it. So awareness was really important. The second lesson learned out of that incident was we went to the Garda and asked for support. Would you like to watch this? Would you like to come in and investigate? Would you like to arrest this person, Not interested.
Well, that is interesting.
Simply because the IP address didn't come from this country. It came from a state where usually Western nations don't have access to.
Yeah. And just like supply chain reliance on supply chain, I think it's very prevalent. But would you say that's your biggest risk to the business?
Yes, it is the biggest risk. Our own security measures, because we do have very little exposure. We don't collect credit card details. We don't have call centers. There's very little exposure to the internet itself. Yeah. However, our supply chain and even some of the low-cost airlines have very weak security measures in place, very immature processes. Some of the low-cost airlines in some Asian countries, they operate off a Gmail account.
Yeah.
That says it all. Yeah, and those are the weak points in your environment where people can have access to and get to you through the back door, basically.
Yeah. And how do you kind of cater for that? I mean, is it purely the user side, or is there an auditing of those that?
We do audit it. So most recently, we've implemented something initially only in a limited way, but there are services available out there where companies are monitored. So what is their security posture from the outside in? The service basically scans their website, their email security, their ports, and they put together a report. Yeah. So if you are interested in looking at what the stature of your supply chain is, you basically can nominate the most important companies, and you will get a report back. How likely are they to be hacked, or where are their weak points? So I implemented this for my IT supply chain, and we actually found a company that looks after a limited amount of databases for us. They had a bad score, and we basically took the report, went to them and say, you either improve or we have to take other measures. That's not good enough. So that monitoring is available, and I would encourage everybody to at least test it. Is it the right thing for you in your industry or?
Yeah. Does it need quite a lot of business backing? Because I think, as you say, you've got to improve, or we take the next steps.
Yes, it does.
Obviously that can have an impact on the business.
It does. Yeah. So I said I implemented this for my own supply chain in IT first. That was successful. We've done this for about 100 suppliers, and the next step would be to go to what we call in aircraft leasing technical. Anything to do with the technology and the maintenance of the aircraft. They have thousands of suppliers, all over the world, with the workshops to maintain either engines, airframes, landing gears, and most of those have blue-collar workforces, very kind of manufacturing environment, and a fairly low score on those kind of gateways.
Yeah, and so just sort of bringing it to people, because that's a big focus for us this year, definitely on the human side of that equation. I know that AerCap, you have, I suppose your approach to people is relatively lean, but putting the expertise in the right place.
Yes.
So I guess it would be great if you could talk us through that, and how you balance that with successfully acting upon your requirements and objectives.
Yes.
Particularly from a security perspective.
Yeah. So the background to this is we are listed in New York. We are considered an asset manager or a specialist finance company. We finance an asset class. That's how stock market analysts look at us. From that perspective, they expect us to be lean and mean in terms of headcount. And there's no difference to any other lessor, no matter whether you're listed or you're owned by a bank or an insurance company. So you're an asset manager, and as a result of that, it is expected that you outsource an awful lot because your core business is to manage the life cycle of the asset. What does that translate to in IT? It translates to the fact that anything we do and that has a sense of I can buy this and the service is readily available, it's not differentiating because everybody else needs to do it as well, I will outsource. Hence, my IT team is relatively small. I see the smile of my colleague here because I've got the largest in the industry. But in total, I run an IT department on 55 people, lock, stock, and barrel, including in-house development. Yeah.
So relatively lean. I said sort of in terms of outsourcing, and just shamelessly, talk about actually we're obviously one of your partners
Yes,
from
you
a
are.
security perspective,
Yes.
helping with that outsource. And also, unafraid to say, do you know what? 5 years ago we were doing a bit on the business, and we weren't successful, and we've transformed from that point.
Yes.
But it'd be great if you can talk to what is your process? What do you look for in a partner
Yes.
that you feel that you can
Yes.
put the trust into?
Yes. So we mentioned the board before. 5, 6 years ago, when I went to the board and said, I need a security partner, I want to outsource this. All of these non-executives, mostly American or Middle East, didn't know anything about an Irish company. But they knew a big British telecommunication provider, that offered similar services. So when the decision was on the table, yes, we are okay to outsource this, but who do we trust and who do we know? The non-executives really supported, go with a big name. Yeah, that was 6 years ago. In the meantime, you as a company, you have grown, you've internationalized, and at the same time, the incumbent has gone the other way. And let's be very fair and honest. The service resided and went backwards. So over that period of time, I was able to establish a reputation to make good decisions and to present, recommendations to the board that they are happy to support. So I took that recommendation and said we did a tender. The incumbent lost, lock, stock, and barrel. But there is a upcoming international business here in Ireland on our doorsteps. We would like to partner with them. And by the way, they were the incident response unit that helped us manage that incident. And look how well they did. Yeah, fine, good. It's reputation.
Yeah.
It's building a name, building a brand, and making sure that that can be recognized at all levels in the organization.
Yeah, I know. I suppose that's for us and for yourself in
It's
terms
same.
of having that
Same.
that influence. Joe, we've only got a couple of minutes left, so I'm just going to move the conversation on. And I know it's something that you've spent a lot of time looking at and I'm hoping getting excited about as well. But AI is one of those bits. I know you went on a bit of a journey around Silicon Valley looking at AI,
Yes.
but it'd be great to get your perspective on where that fits in terms of, and I know that your CEO wants to look at the social impacts of it, but let's not focus on those. Let's focus on the kind of security impacts, and technology impact. So how do you kind of see the use of that generally, but also in AerCap and the considerations that you need to have in place, or that you do have in place?
Yes. So did we try it? Yes, we did. Did I look into the Silicon Valley and I went there to speak to a lot of startups and understand what it is? Yes, we did. I am not a in great favor of generative AI. What I do like is agentic AI, so building agents that do something on a very defined set of data, because you can control the data. From my perspective, in a summary of what you can do in a couple of minutes, data is 50% at least of AI. All the talk about these large language models and generative AI and what it can possibly do in the future, let's see. But if you can, provide your own in-house set of data that is important to your business and make an AI analyze it, read it, digest it, ingest it, and then draw conclusions on it, it reduces hallucination by a huge amount. And it improves the trust that any kind of business owner would have to make decisions on the basis of those recommendations. That would work. So we tested it. We found certain Copilot things not mature enough to roll out, We found other, Copilot Studio developments with bots that look at, system documentation, help and support, and an initial analysis on risks that where we collect the data ourselves. That works. That works. It is a slower process. I'm not in a rush. And all of those kind of consultants that come in and say, you must do this quickly because otherwise you will be left behind. I doubt that. I doubt that. We'll do this in a very measured way, but we are going to engage.
Yeah, I know. So as part of that, we're out of time, and Anya will start getting to the edge of her seat soon to kick us off the stage. But part of that is keeping the data within the virtual four walls of the organisation.
Four walls, yeah, absolutely. So we have special areas where we either give the AI access to the data, or we store the data separately, so that the AI has only got that element of access to it, and therefore the responses can be really, really accurate.
Yeah. So we should have given ourselves half an hour, I'd say,
Yes,
because we could
there
get
we
a
go.
whole conversation around data classification, how that
Yes.
works with AI.
Yes.
But perhaps we'll save that for a future session.
Very good.
So that leaves me to say thank you very much to
You're
Jorg
welcome.
for joining us and sharing those insights.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.